Hey guys. So I didn't record anything yesterday, and apparently I just have lots and lots to say today. What I actually did yesterday is I put up a video called Surviving My Apocalypse. It's part two, the foundations of my survival. If you haven't seen it already, I have it up on YouTube, and there's a link on my wall that you can find. And yeah, so I would recommend that. But I've been thinking this morning about what happens when people who have been terrible start, or blind, or willfully ignorant, start reaping what they sow. And it's ugly. And it's painful to watch, honestly. Like I'm rather notoriously, I can be very aggressive and very unpleasant with terrible people. But that's just, one, it's me working out some of my hostility. Because I don't take it out on people around me. I take it out on Russian trolls and traitors and, that kind of stuff. White supremacists. I'm telling you, I'm just waiting. Like, there's probably some white supremacist I pissed off 10 years ago who's just been waiting. I'm gonna go get that bitch. Oh, well. So, anyways, but no, I'm not actually somebody, I don't like seeing people suffer, like, at all. I'm super squeamish about it. I don't like it. I feel like I don't need to suffer in order to be taught things. You can just teach me. I'm really easy to teach, actually. But the reality is not everyone is like me. Not everybody is like you. So sometimes people really, that whole thing, hit rock bottom. Like, there are people who they need the proverbial slap in the face. They need to face plant into reality before they're going to wake up. And it's really unfortunate. And some people, frankly, just need to be stopped. Like, those of you who know me, I did prison ministry back in college. And I was working at a juvenile prison outside of Chicago. And this was in the early 90s, which was like the era of the so-called super predators. And some of those kids who were in those news stories were in the prison that I was volunteering at. So like yeah. So those folks, and let me just say that our prison system is just, it's ridiculous and it's stupid, and it makes us so much less safe. Like, it makes us incredibly unsafe, the way that our prison system is run, because it's entirely punitive. And if you put people in an entirely punitive environment, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to break them such that they are not able to be a productive, contributing member of society. So you're actually depriving us of things and people that we need. And two, those who are particularly corrupted already are going to become much, much more dangerous. So it's just, yeah. Anyways, that's my little tirade. So this is not me approving of the prison system, but there were definitely a few people who it was like, I hope you never walk the streets freely again, because they were dangerous. One of them was simply, he had like brain injuries and trauma, and I don't at all think the prison was the right place for him to be, but he definitely needed to be somewhere where he could not just do whatever he wanted to do, because he was that unsafe. And then, there was someone else I met who was so disgustingly predatory, towards the most vulnerable, that like, there is nothing you can do to show the world that you're safe after that kind of behavior. It's not possible. So yeah, sometimes there are those people who, like, that's what they need. But more often people need reality to hit them in the face. And it's unfortunate. It shows a lack of empathy if people cannot simply tell you, hey, this is what's happening. Here's why we're having these problems. Here's why people are acting like this, without you jumping in to explain why you're the only person. No, it's really this. It's really, I know the answers. What are you supposed to do? So as we move into this, we're going to be seeing things like Trump supporters who are realizing that they're losing their health insurance if his policies are enacted. Yeah, true. Absolutely true. And it's heartbreaking. And some of these people will be disabled people. And some of these people will have disabled children or sick, chronically ill children in the middle of a medical emergency. And it's not right. And it's not good. And it's super unfortunate, that especially for that child. And it's really hard to watch, frankly. It really is. And we'll do what we can to help people, of course. But it is difficult to watch people in the fuck around and find out stage if you're a compassionate person. There is a point where you're like, I wish it could be different. You're really, I don't know about anybody else. I don't take pleasure in seeing people be genuinely crushed, if they're being restrained from being a piece of work, or they're facing consequences, then sure, I'm with everybody else. Like, this is good and wholesome content. But no, I don't like to see what it takes to get some people to wake up, or to stop them, to impede them from being able to carry on harming other people. I don't care how terrible you are. I wouldn't wish like a death from some horrible chronic disease on anyone, not even a terrible person. I don't like that. That makes me super uncomfortable. It really does. And I know that I am not alone in that. But, when I was working with Love Talks, the organization in Portland that was holding parties on the streets for unhoused people, and the person whose baby it was, Linda, and I were talking about it. Like, she was very deliberate, and there was nothing haphazard about what she built. And she was very deliberate in laying foundations for it. And part of it was the vision of, the wedding feast, and that Jesus talks about. And there's, one of the versions of it, I think there are a couple of versions I don't remember right now, and I don't feel like looking it up, but the story, it says, that there was a person in a high place who wanted people to come to his son's wedding feast, and all of the high people made excuses for why they couldn't come to the wedding feast. And then, so he said, fine, go and bring people from the street. And so that's what they did. They went and found people from the streets. And then this story, and so that was like, that was kind of our vision. We're holding a wedding feast. All of the big and fancy people don't want to work with us, and are busy trying to get other big and fancy people to pay attention to them and to recognize them. And, it's just, that's what they're doing. We're not going to do that. We're going to serve the people God said to serve. We're going to serve the very least. Right. And so that was one of her foundational visions for it. But the thing is that story ends, and I don't remember what the issue was. It had something to do with the king or the landowner or whoever the powerful person was finding somebody at the feast who was like not wearing the proper attire. And they like had them beat up and thrown into the street. There's some terrible consequence. And we see this in a few places in scripture where oh God, what is it? I just posted on my wall the other day. Oh, talking about, the person who owed this very large amount of money to the big man. And was going to be imprisoned for it and begged for mercy and was forgiven this large amount of money. And then they turned around and ran into somebody who owed them a small amount of money and demanded it. And when the person begged them to, said they couldn't do it, the same thing, they had that person thrown into prison, and they beat that person up. So, and then the people who witnessed this went and told the big man, hey, this guy who you forgave all of this debt for, turned around and did this crap to somebody who owed him a small amount of money. And, of course, he calls him in and he says, hey, you were forgiven all this stuff and you wouldn't even forgive a little thing from someone else. For this, you're going to be thrown into prison and tortured. Like, those are endings that make me really uncomfortable. And when Linda and I actually talked about the story of the wedding feast that ends with like somebody thrown into the street and beat up and all this stuff, we were like, we'll just leave that part off. Like, honestly, that really was, we were like, well, because Jesus did it sometimes. He left off the part about the war, or, violence. Those who know the scripture, have studied it, know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was basically what we did. But the truth is that sometimes you fuck around and you find out, sometimes you have put things into the world for other people, and that's what comes back to you. And when that happens, it's not because like somebody who's hurt has harmed you in some way. It's not because you're being treated unfairly. You fucked around and you found out, and now you get to walk through the same thing that everybody else has had to walk through. And yeah, it sucks. It would have been nice. We just tell the kids sometimes, let people be nice to you. You don't want to let people be nice to you? Well, you might not have health insurance anymore. Well, your groceries might be about to get super expensive. Well, we may be crashing the economy. But hey, look at it this way. Our consumer culture is literally killing the planet. So if we completely crash the country and take ourselves back to, a much less developed state, hey, maybe we'll save the world. I don't know, guys, but all I know is I've made it so far. I intend to keep making it, and I hope you do too. All right. Love you lots, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye.